John, there's a lot of uncertainty out there at the moment.
Uncertainty, Rob, is one of the most potentially damaging emotional states we can have. When you want to understand uncertainty, you always go back to us as a caveman, us as a primitive player, because that's where our emotional habits come from. It's where our pre-programmed responses come from, right? Now, uncertainty invariably means a lack of safety. That's what it's about. And safety is around reliability. Now, let's look at the environment we're in now. It couldn't be right now for the rural sector, the elements of the rural sector, any more unreliable. And there's a lot of things on the horizon. You know, there's the prospect for, say, salmon farming that the TPP will increase and open up new markets, which may therefore see the milk price push up, which may take a lot of pressure off people, but it may also bring in a whole lot of foreign buyers that suddenly push land prices right up. So if you're, say, a share milker thinking, I'd like to buy a farm someday, that could be a double-edged sword, you see. And with uncertainty, we are naturally built to catastrophize.
So this is the conversation you have in your head, and it's always the worst scenario.
Well, by working out the worst scenario, you don't get surprised. And in nature, surprises are usually unpleasant, often fatal.
Like things that come out of bushes.
Exactly. So if you're looking ahead, and if you go back to our ancient ancestry again, and they're wandering into a place where, you know, someone got nobbled last year as the tribe went through by a saber-toothed tiger or whatever, then you're looking at every rock and you're seeing the hiding place, right? You're looking at every bush and hearing every rustle, and you're hearing a stalker, you know. And so we do the same thing when we are in danger in our modern life. So every change in the dollar is, if it's down, it's more expensive farm machinery. If it's up, it's a difficulty selling milk overseas. You know, I mean, we look at most things from the point of view of their potential risk impact to us, and they generate all the internal physiological responses.
Because if you're hesitating to go walk into a room, it's very obvious, isn't it? Because you sort of just look uncomfortable.
Absolutely. But also, again, back to our ancient ancestors, or if you look at any of those sort of videos that you see on Animal Planet, right? Gazelle jumps left, gazelle jumps right, you know. One might be better than the other. Gazelle stands still, it's all over.
Yeah.
So indecision is dangerous, and pre-thinking is a way of working through the possible decisions ahead of time. The only trouble is it is extremely resource expensive in terms of the body. It uses up important neurotransmitters that should be doing other things. These are the chemicals in the brain that do things. It tends to suppress a type of neurotransmitter called GABA, which is the one that makes us nice and relaxed and allows us to head off to sleep, right? That in conjunction with melatonin. And so lying in bed at night, you know, counting cows and milk solids, right, doesn't really help you much. It doesn't change the price. And no matter how many ways you think through the permutations and combinations, right, the answers often don't come out a lot different. I mean, you know, we got sharp people running dairy farms now. It's no longer the bloke sitting under a tree watching daisies grow. These are people who sit down and work on spreadsheets and fertiliser inputs, and do I get the vet in, and will I bother even buying in palm kernel now? There could be one good thing about this whole thing. At least there'll be less chance of importing a snake or something from Indonesia.
Yeah, well, that is true, because that's an unexpected uncertainty too.
There's another uncertainty.
Yeah.
You know? I know a few dairy farmers who've said, I wish we didn't have to do it, but the nature of our operation is such that we've got to buy feed at this price if we can sell it at that price. And in fact, a dairy farmer I talked to just the other day said, it's not worth our while now, supplemental feeding. It's just the cost margin on it is so narrow now that it's just not worth the risk.
So they're just going to get less production because it's going to be less expensive.
It's going to be less expensive because I think he said something like, if we bring in foreign feed, it's worth something like $5 a kilogram of milk solid, and we can do it at, say, $4.90 if we don't. And he said,
Did you see they're going to get $4.60?
I know, and he said that we are going to run at a loss. We are going to run at a loss, and we're going to run at a loss for a couple of years. Now, he's in a good position, relatively good position, because he's been around a long time. Now, if you've just bought a farm, right, it should be a pretty scary situation out there for people.
Somebody who wakes up at 2 o'clock every morning, how do you get out of that habit? Because that's a body clock thing.
It's a body clock
But
thing.
it gives you all that time to think at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, it's to do with sleep cycles as well. You know, you've gone into your sleep cycle, you've come down through and your delta sleep, and you're coming back up again, and you're more likely to wake then. So that's when you're more likely to wake. But then if you do wake, particularly if you add other biologicals in there, if you decide to go and have a pee, well, your kidney starts producing urine about an hour before that, so then that can become part of the habit too, and you don't want to do that. So you just lie there and resist that one. And I don't know, try and think of something more pleasant. One thing you can, I think, rely on is that this is not new. Farming, none of this stuff's new. This stuff was going on when my father was farming sheep on the west coast in the 1960s and 70s. And when, the old country, as we used to refer to it, dumped us all, went into the EEC and helped the Vichy French screw us, you know. I mean, he actually said to me afterwards, I wouldn't have cared if it was positive or negative. I would have felt better. He said the worst part by far was the weight.